My Mimi was born in 1934 to parents Susan and Arthur Fagan. This is my great-grandma Susan. I'm named after her. My Mimi has 4 brothers. Mimi, do you mind naming them for me from left to right?
Andrew, Arthur, Hugh, and Joseph. And the 2 older ones have gone to heaven, and their 2 younger brothers are here.
So when my Mimi grew up, she met my papa, Marcel Behan. Quite a stud right there, as you can see. They met about a minute past forever ago. He was born in Brittany, France, in this house here. This is what he looks like now. My Mimi took this picture, as you can tell, with the thumb in the corner. It's one of my favorites ever. They have been married for 65 years, right, Grandma?
61.
61, sorry, I'm aging them a little bit.
That's okay.
My Mimi and Papa had 4 children, Michelle, Renee, Suzanne, and Colleen. Colleen is my mom. In this house, they raised these 4 children and a bunch of grandkids. And this is what the house looks like now when you can drive past the street. Here are all my grandma's grandchildren. Obviously, who's the favorite, Grandma?
Alexandra is the favorite, of course.
My grandma grew up in a time where women were often oppressed and isolated in all aspects of life. In her words, mostly years back, women did the cooking, the cleaning, the shopping, and the taking care of babies. Yet, my Mimi didn't experience this mindset in her own household. Growing up with 4 brothers, she was considered just one of the boys. She never noticed the heavy male bias present in many other prominent facets in life. This male bias originated far back than 1934, however. Elizabeth Johnson states it best in saying that the Bible holds male superiority to such a high standard over the voices of the female gender that it is almost impossible for any woman voice to be heard in any story. It is here in the Bible where it can be most clearly seen that women are forced into certain roles of society, like cooking and cleaning and caring for the household. While not being raised this way, my grandma acknowledges and fiercely supports the women that were forced to silence their voices and quiet their dreams at the hands of others. I love the way my Mimi is constantly surprised and blown away by other women and their accomplishments. When the movie Hidden Figures came out, it quickly became one of the very few DVDs in my grandma's collection. To her, all women are as strong and brave as the woman in that film. When asked to share her stories of courage, she first hesitated, unsure. Yet, she continued to tell me of the many times in her life when she has had to use tremendous courage and stand up for what she believes in. In particular, her courage can be seen when helping others, especially my papa. It is not unknown that older people are sometimes taken advantage of for their money or lack of knowledge in the medical field. As my grandpa has had to face constant tests and doctors due to his cancer, my Mimi has had to face many people in positions of authority that have taken advantage of the situation. Once, a doctor told them information that my grandma believed to not be true. When she tried to question the doctor, she was just brushed off as an elderly woman. Yet, she decided to find another doctor for her husband. It was found that my grandpa would have received improper treatment when my grandma had stayed with the original doctor. This immediately reminded me of Pua and Shipra. In the story, the Pharaoh feared that the birth of a boy would come and he would lead the Israelites to destroy the Egyptians. In retaliation, he decided to kill all of the baby males. The 2 midwives, believing this order was against God's will, decided to disobey the Pharaoh by saying Hebrew women give birth faster than Egyptian women, so they can't get to the births in time to stop the births of the boys. In defying the Pharaoh, the most powerful person, these 2 women showed courage in multitudes that I could never comprehend, much like my Mimi did. My Mimi has faced many trials and tribulations regarding her health. As a colon cancer survivor, she has faced a plentiful of times where her health is often in jeopardy. While not noticed in my younger years, it has become quite clear and apparent to me that my grandma goes through a lot of pain, especially physically. Seeing her so sick is scary because she is one of my most valued people in life. But through the hospital stays and numerous tests, She never stops taking care of others. It was particularly hard for her to have to value her own health over her sense of motherhood and friendship, because that is what she holds highest. This act of continuing to show and act out her strongest morals and values during her times of sickness draws me to compare her to Malala Yousafzai. To Malala, seeking education and knowledge is one of her greatest goals. She continues schooling when the Taliban taking control of Swat Valley, and in turn, they don't allow girls to attend school. Malala speaks out against her oppressors. Even when she is shot, Malala continues to strive to learn. Malala establishes the Malala Fund, a charity created to ensure a future for all girls. And then she wins a Nobel Peace Prize for her work in girls' rights and education. I see a lot of comparisons between both her and my Mimi. When asked about her best friend, my grandma mentioned Josie Ann, a woman who hasn't lived near her for around 10 years. My Mimi values calling her often, and she loves to hear her voice. They met at an Al-Anon church meeting. Al-Anon is the place for the loved ones of people in AA to find support, and that is where she met Josie Ann. They connected through grief over their loved ones. At this meeting, they were both natural at supporting each other. To my Mimi, she considers laughing and finding happiness in the most challenging times vital for a good friendship and a good life. My grandma saw Josie Ann so delicate and fragile, yet she was very surprised at how strong she was. Their meeting turned into lunch and shopping, and they became best friends from then on. This relationship reminds me of Elizabeth and Mary, which in a way is ironic because they share names, but true. I feel like all of these women took a possibly bad situation and made laughter and happiness out of it. They could have chose to take in different responses to the situations they were in. Even though it would have been easier to do that, they chose to find laughter in situations they never thought they'd be in the first place, just like Elizabeth and Mary. My Mimi reminds me of a lot of people, and it's hard to compare her, but I really find her with a lot of similarities sharing with Sheryl Sandberg. My Mimi didn't necessarily like school. That's one of our major differences. Now, however, she's the head of a business, a total woman powerhouse, just like the CFO of Facebook. Sheryl Sandberg specifically said that women aren't in leadership positions, and a lot of them don't return to the workforce after having children. Both Sheryl and my Mimi had kids and returned to the workforce bigger and better than ever. Both of these women have shown me extreme amounts of determination. It makes me very proud to consider my Mimi like Sheryl Sandberg, but I really think it should make Sheryl Sandberg proud to be considered like my Mimi. Throughout this interview, I have realized exponentially the impact my grandma has had on my life. While I never failed to see it, sitting down and talking with her was a great pleasure and a great joy of mine. She truly embodies what it means to be truly happy with life and to always take what you have and never take it for granted. I'm very lucky to be related to someone like her. She has taught me to live a life full of happiness and laughter and always enjoy what I do, even if it is hard. I'm so very lucky to know Mary Behan in my life. She is my greatest friend, biggest treasure in life. I love her with my whole heart, and I feel so grateful that I was able to do this.